game for Roy Halladay.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Phaithful Phanatics podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dylan Davis. With me, Matt McGinty, Matt Szymanski, and George Ryder. Fellas, how are we doing today?
You see my name. You see my name.
Hurts so good, baby.
I'm so fired up for this show. I don't know why.
It feels like it just raw dog a scoop of pre-workout, dog. No water, didn't mix it, just threw it right in the mouth, ready to go. I'm itching.
Well, if you're watching live right now, comment, interact with us. We're going to make this as interactive of a show as we've ever had. With the news that came yesterday, we all saw it coming after the move was made on Sunday. Jalen Hurts replaces Carson Wentz as the starting quarterback versus the New Orleans Saints. He came in the second possession of the third quarter against the loss to the Green Bay Packers. So let's start there. He was 5 of 12, used his legs a little bit, threw one touchdown, one interception. Gint, how were you impressed by the rookie in his debut against the Packers? And was it the right move from Doug Peterson and the organization to make that switch just after halftime?
Yeah, I thought he would have started the Packers game to begin with. I don't understand why Carson even played a drive in the second half, not saying that in a negative way towards Carson, but I thought it was time. As opposed to his play, people that hate Carson will pretend that we weren't down 2 scores. They were playing prevent coverage and just allowing us to play in front of them. Green Bay tightened up at one point, and he threw an interception. But I'll still give him a B-. He made some throws that were good balls, and I don't want to hate Jalen Hurts. I really don't. So, like I said, a B, I think, is about as accurate as you could get for Jalen Hurts on Sunday, and we'll see about this week.
George, how would you grade the play of Jalen Hurts in his debut, and was it the right decision to remove Carson and put in Jalen Hurts?
It was definitely the right decision. I mean, at this point, what else do you have going for you? You at least have Jalen Hurts that can use his legs and get outside the pocket and work better with that offensive line, use his legs better than Wentz. I thought he looked good. He made good throws. He used his legs very well. It was about time. It probably was time before this game to put Ertz in, but what are you going to do? And at this point moving forward, it's the best decision for the team. I mean, he's going to look better than Carson Wentz would against the Saints because he can actually use his legs. He can get away from the blitz. He can extend plays more. He'll probably have fewer sacks. He'll scramble more. I'll give him a B. He looked good. That touchdown pass, obviously, Ward was wide open. It was an easy throw to make, but he made the throw. He could have missed the throw. So Ertz looked good. He didn't light the world on fire, but you got to give it to the kid. He's young. He's a rookie. It was a B, and I guess I'm excited to see what he does against the Saints, even though it's probably going to be a really fucking tough game for him. That defense is so good. That defensive line is really good. He's going to have his struggles, but we'll see what happens. I'll give him a B for his performance, though, in the second half.
And Snap, before I go, how would you grade the play of Jalen Hurts, and was it the right decision?
They summed it up perfectly, Gint and George. It is a B. He looked like a decent He looked like a decent NFL quarterback in his first go-around. That deep pass for a TD in the end zone was good. The interception, tight. He's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes like that. Like Gint said, I don't want to hate this kid. I actually really like this kid. If we didn't have a quarterback and we drafted him in the second round, I would have loved the pick. But we have number 11 on the bench, and we're going to get into why this is like a whole issue. Yeah. Clearly, you see who I blame. But he played good for the first time, and you know what? It was the right time, even though in a weird way, I don't think it was the right time, if that makes any sense. It doesn't probably, but you knew it was going to happen. Let me say it like that. You knew it was going to happen. It was a matter of time before it happened, and I'm glad we're just finally getting to see him, know what we have. So, B overall, glad we got to see him. Yeah.
You want to say something?
Yeah, because I know you're going to go on CVS receipt type brand here, but I just think it's like kind of comical that 65% of this fan base at this point just like magically thought Greg Ward was like getting open.
Yeah, I know.
Didn't get open 11 weeks into the season, but something happened in the second half of the Green Bay Packers game where Greg Ward started getting open. So I just had to throw that out there because I'm so done with this fan base. I wish I could like a different team, but I physically can't.
All right. Was it the right move at the time? Yeah. I mean, you had to make a switch. I would probably sit Carson down for the rest of the season. The season's over. Just simply to protect Carson from that offensive line. I'll throw one thing out real quick before I get to Jalen Hurts. I never want to hear that Carson Wentz is injury prone ever, ever, ever again. Because if he didn't get hurt behind this offensive line this year, I don't want to ever hear that he's injury prone again. With that being said, Jalen Hurts was a B minus. He played fine. He came in, he looked good. Finished 5 of 12, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Like Gint said, it was a nice throw to Jalen Hurts. Greg Ward in the end zone. He climbed the pocket, escaped the pressure, made the throw on the run, kind of. He was open. His best throw, in my opinion, was to throw down the sideline to Jalen Reagor in the first possession he came in the game. Somehow, I'm with Gint. Look, for everyone that doesn't want to admit this, Green Bay was up. What was it, 17-3 or 20-3 at the time? I think it was 17-3, and there was 7 or 8 minutes left in the game, or I forget. No. He came in the third quarter, but he provided a spark. And they were sitting back in prevent coverage. Keep everything in front of you. You want to pick up 10, 15 yards to Greg Ward, that's fine. We're going to come up. We're going to make the tackle, chew some clock. We're up big. That's what they did. Once Jalen Hurts threw the touchdown to Greg Ward, the defense got to stop. Jalen Reagor, all of a sudden, the special teams is alive. He gets to return punts instead of Greg Ward. He returns a punt, 1 possession game. Guess what Green Bay does the very next possession? They tighten up. And he can't do anything the very next possession, okay? So let's not act like the kid lit the world on fire. He was 5 of 12. He threw an interception. I don't want to see any comments tonight or after the show about how, he was hit. Nope. Carson was hit plenty of times during an interception this year. Never got it. He was hit, interception. I don't want to dislike the kid. I like the kid, actually. I'm with Snap. The Eagles, the situation makes me upset and mad that we're here. But let's move forward a little bit. Was it the right move, Gant, we got the Green Bay game out of the way, but now is it the right move to name him the starter versus the Saints? Because there was a lot of talk of you just need to sit Carson down for a half. He needs to get his head out of his ass, sit him down. It's a wake-up call. Well, that's not the case. He's the starter now this week against New Orleans Saints at home. Was that the right move?
Yeah, and I'm saying yeah in a sense of, like you said, I don't want Carson to die behind this offensive line. The other, like I said, I'm going to go with 65%. That's the number I'm going to use. The fan base thinks this is like the new era that we're getting into all of a sudden, that Jalen Hurts turns something around out of nowhere. Guys still aren't going to get open, even though somehow Alshon Jeffrey's hurt again. And
I'll get to that
somehow. But everything, it was the right move for this week at least. I'm not going to say I want him to fail, but I wouldn't be surprised if Carson plays in the second half this week. But we'll see.
George, is it the right move versus Saints?
It's 100% the right move. I mean, at this point in the season, Wentz is, to put it lightly, it's unfixable with him. This offensive line, with this offense, it's just not going to work. You're going to have the same story every single week. At least with Ertz, it sucks he's a rookie and has to make his first start against the Saints defense. It's going to be rough, but he's going to be able to extend plays more. He's going to be able to move out of the pocket better. He's going to be able to use his legs, get first downs more. Wentz isn't going to be able to do that against the Saints. It's not.
I'm with you. Not to cut you off, I'm with you. Right. But everyone thinks, like, to your point, I'm not saying he's not going to be able to do that more effectively, but everyone thinks like, oh man, look at this offensive line. It actually played a little better. Carson Wentz was sacked 4 times with 15 pass attempts against Green Bay. Jalen Hurts was sacked 3 times with 12 pass attempts. So no, the offensive line did not play better in front of Jalen Hurts.
No, definitely. Yeah, you're 100% right. But against it, yeah. And just to the point though, against the Saints, the way that Ertz can use his legs a lot more effectively than Carson can right now, it's going to be better for the Birds. It's going to be better for Wentz to not get absolutely destroyed by that monster Saints defensive line. Start Ertz the rest of the season. That's what should happen. That's probably what will happen unless he absolutely shits the bed. We'll see. But yeah, it's 100% the right move to start him against the Saints and probably going forward too.
All right. Snap.
Yeah, it's the right move. My biggest point is the same as Gant's. I just don't want Wentz to get banged up more than he has to. Again, touching back on what I said, I've been the last couple weeks, I've been wanted to see Ertz in. And the main reason for that is to just see what the kids got. You know, we know the season's washed. We're already basically a top 5 pick in the draft. I've been wanted to tank too. So why not keep tanking, see what we got? The only way Hurts completely wins me over that this is his job to lose is if he somehow goes out there and just plays astronomically good against the Saints. And by that, I don't mean that we run because we have a comment right here, that we run the ball 30 times and he does a good job passing the ball with the 30 runs that we have. No, that's not what I mean. If they're running the ball, I'm not giving him any credit. That's Doug's lack of common sense for not doing that all year. But if the kid goes out and somehow manages to throw like 4 TDs, no interceptions, goes for 300 yards, I'll be like, okay, we got something here. Let's see what we got. And for the rest of the year, I want to see what he's got. Let's see because honestly, I hope he turns into trade bait and Wentz isn't really out the door. But the way everyone's seeming to think is that Wentz is already out the door. So, I mean, you have to see what the kid's got no matter which avenue you go. And I'm excited. In a weird way, I'm excited. And even though we have a ton of quarterback controversy once again for the 3rd season in a row, I am excited to see this kid play.
Yeah.
Shout out Ty Book.
It's exciting. Yeah, shout out to Ty Book for that comment. He joined us for the live stream on Sunday. It was a good time. The live stream, if you guys want to tune in, I think we'll be doing again this Sunday versus Saints. It makes the pain a little more tolerable.
I have a lot more to say about Doug running the ball. But
I'm going to get. I'll throw it back to you in a second.
Mm-hmm.
I want to address one thing about your comments about him trade bait versus Carson and people thinking Carson should be traded. Let me make one thing very clear. Is it possible that's the direction the Eagles want to go towards? I guess. I don't. They've done nothing to help this kid. It seems as though they're doing everything they can to push him out of the city. So if that's the case, fine. But I want to pull this up right here. The fact that Alshon Jeffrey was getting Fulgham snaps and target is a joke. Let me explain why Alshon's on the field as much as he is. Because he has a $12 million cap hit. And Howie Roseman and this team will not eat it. So for everyone that thinks we play fantasy football, and this is just fantasy land here, and the money doesn't matter, Carson Wentz will not be on the bench next year. Carson Wentz will not be traded next year, in my opinion, because this Eagles team is not going to sit a guy for $60 million to just not play, and they're not going to trade him and eat high 30s, 34 million in dead cap for a guy that's not even playing here. They won't sit Alshon Jeffrey for a 12 million cap hit. They are not going that route. But let me talk about the Saints game. It's scary to me because Taysom Hill's starting for the Saints. So that makes me think that the Eagles defense will have success.
You mean Jalen Hurts 2.0, Taysom Hill?
Yeah. So I think it'll be a closer game. I don't know how the Eagles and Jalen Hurts move the ball against the Saints defense, like George said earlier, but I do think our defense at least keeps us in the game. With that being said, is it the right move? I guess, but it just makes the mess this organization has created that much worse. And let me explain why. A few weeks ago, we had a conversation of put in Jalen Hurts because we think it's Doug Peterson. A group of people think it's Carson Wentz. We'll find out who's correct. Now, Snap, this is where I'm about to throw it back to you in a minute. That's not true because it's not level playing field. How many weeks in a row were we saying run the ball, Doug? Roll Carson out of the pocket, Doug. This offensive line sucks. Move the pocket. And he doesn't do it. Now, let me break down what happened in the Packers game and what's going to happen Sunday. The Packers game, Carson Wentz gets pulled. Guess who gets pulled with Carson Wentz? Now, I know he has a toe injury and he might have some other stuff going on.
The bodyguard.
The worst right guard in the NFL, gets pulled and Nate Herbig comes in. All of a sudden, this special teams that sucks all year, the backup quarterback, Greg Ward's returning punts all year when Carson Wentz is quarterback. All of a sudden, the guy that's meant to return punts gets put back there and returns one to the house on Sunday night. Now the comments today. We need to run the ball and establish the run to help Jalen Hurts out this Sunday. Wow. You mean the same thing you should have done to help number 11 out for the past 12 fucking weeks, right, Doug? Or now all of a sudden, Alshon Jeffrey and Jason Peters are sore. They might miss Sunday's game. Are you kidding me? They're sore now, guys. They're sore. Carson Wentz is off the field. Jalen Hurts is in. They're going to run the ball more. And not to mention that he moved Jalen Hurts out of the pocket damn near every pass attempt against the Packers. I'm sure you're going to see a ton of that on Sunday. So he's going to run the ball. He's going to move the pocket for Jalen Hurts, and the guys that are detrimental to this offense are going to be now off the field, giving other guys opportunities.
It's clear and obvious that if we run the ball 30 times this week, that there is an absolute disconnect in your quarterback and head coach, and that they can't coexist anymore.
Goes deeper.
Yeah, and it might, but I don't see how you can have both of them if you somehow see the ball run 30 times this week, because that's clearly saying that or maybe not. Maybe Doug sees some vision where Carson needs to throw the ball 46 times for him to succeed. But this head coach and quarterback are not on the same page whatsoever. You saw a big thing with every time Carson gets an interception, it's not go up to Doug and speak. It's slam the iPad on the ground and look at it. And Jalen Hurts throws a pick, and it looked like Doug was like gonna like
the whole
hug.
goddamn coaching staff's over there.
Yeah, it was everyone. So there was like Dive said it a lot in our post game after Sunday. He's like, there is a disconnect.
Yammer.
That's incorrect in every
No, don't get me wrong. There were times Hurts broke the pocket under pressure. There were times. But about the first 3 pass attempts, he got the snap in the shotgun and immediately rolled out. Those are design rollouts.
Dude, pull up Ty's comment.
Ty Book says the bodyguard's toe might as well be.
Listen, can I just spin off what Matt's saying?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think there's 2 possible things that we can judge from the whole Hurts Wentz thing. And one of them is actually a Mike Missinelli point that I heard a long time ago earlier in the season that I kind of just didn't want to believe. And it's the fact that either A, management and everyone just wants to force out Wentz for whatever reason, and they are doing everything possible to make it look like the smart move, or B, Doug Peterson is just that incompetent of a coach that he knows how to set up backup quarterbacks but won't do it for Wentz. Whether that's an ego thing that drives back to Wentz being such a good MVP and being able to make plays and him getting a lot of credit for taking them to as far as they went before they made their playoff run and before the Wentz injury. Because all you hear about the Super Bowl year is, oh, we don't get there without Wentz.
Yeah.
And maybe Doug is just this ego maniac that's like, well, if I'm not coaching it, we don't get there either. So he's almost getting to the point where something's got. Yeah, he is incompetent. It's getting to the point where it's either Doug is just this incompetent and this big of an ego that he's like doing everything to prove that it's not Wentz, it's him, or management is so convinced on Jalen Hurts and moving on from Carson Wentz for whatever reason it is that they are doing everything possible to just put this man under the bus. This man was a baller the last 3 years of his career. He was the MVP in 2017 before he goes down. And they're this quick to give up on him? What happened to this max extension you just signed this guy for with all this guaranteed money? Then you go out and draft Jalen Hurts after he gets injured in the playoffs. There's something behind this. Like, there is more to this than like Carson Wentz just playing bad. Yeah. And I refuse to believe that it's anything but that. I think management's out for this guy. I think that coaching staff is out for this guy. And I don't know why. I really don't know why. Everything just points to that everyone's after it. The fact that you come out after benching Carson Wentz and everything we have been screaming for the last 5 weeks, you need to run the ball, play the short game better, roll him out of the pocket, all happens in a press conference where, oh, yeah, I think we're going to do that with Jalen. Like we just said, the first 3 plays, Jalen Hurts was in the game. They rolled him out of the pocket, and Carson Wentz did that once in the whole game.
Yeah.
His most effective way of throwing the ball, and you've been putting him in the pocket all year. There's something going behind the scenes that we don't know about, and it's going to lead to bigger issues for this team down the line because you already seen Fletcher Cox go to Twitter and like a tweet about wanting Wentz.
He commented on that today, too.
You also saw Jason Kelce literally rip the whole Eagle organization earlier today about benching Wentz, saying he's still our quarterback. It's the whole offense's fault, including coaching staff and management. the whole locker room is going to fall apart. And I guarantee you this, my whole theory is true if you see Jason Kelce get moved this offseason because of comments like that. I promise you. I know I'm taking it to another level with that type of commenting. Anyone that's Team Wentz is going to be out the door. I'm telling you. If they are really on about making Wentz to get the fuck out of here, everyone that's on Team Wentz will not be here anymore.
All right, go ahead, George, and then I'm going to.
I'll say what Ty said in the comments. Yeah, I think it's crazy if they're actually trying to move on from Wentz that bad after a year last year where he throws 4,000 yards with us at receivers and a bunch of misfit toys and leads us to the division. And this one bad year with nothing around him, we want to kick him out the door. That's crazy. Also, Dives, Howie, so much worse than Clentak because Clentak, Middleton was sitting on his wallet. All right, Clentak couldn't do much. It's Howie. All
right, let me get to these other two comments here. Nadir, thanks for joining, buddy. We'll get to the Sixers in a little bit. Coaching staff has failed Carson Wentz. You're 100% correct. Yammer said, could we lock the two of them in the Thunderdome? 2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
I would pay. I would throw Wentz's shotgun for pheasant hunting.
Wentz and Hurd.
He lives in Morristown. I know where he lives. I'll show you his doorstep.
And Ty Book says 11 different offensive linemen, and Doug calls the game like we have 5 studs up there. Kelce will retire this year. All right, so let's move it forward to 2021 because I have a few things I want to say. I want to go off one of the things that Snap said about the last 3 years because there's a large portion of this fan base, and I know I look at Eagles Twitter too much because it is an asinine of a place, okay?
Fucking awful. Anything Philadelphia sports related on social media is just fucking awful at this point.
There's this idea that, especially at Matt_McGinty, I don't know who that clown is, but anyway, there's this notion that Carson Wentz had 1 good year as the MVP year. That couldn't be further from the truth. So let me give you these numbers. From 2017, the MVP year, to the end of last season, right? He was 81 touchdowns to 21 interceptions for his TD to interception ratio. 260 yards per game, 98.3 QBR, 64.4 completion percentage, 25-15 record. In 2020, we know the numbers. He's 16 to 15 touchdown interception ratio, 218 yards, 72.8 QBR, under 60% completion percentage. They're 3-8-1, right? So it wasn't just 1 good year. I also would like to point out that he's the most hit, most sacked quarterback in the entire NFL. Are some of those sacks on him? Absolutely. But let me say one thing. When people say, oh, like that when he rolled out and he threw that 40-yard pass to Dallas Goedert, right? And it was underthrown because he was on the run and he could have stopped and set his feet and delivered a ball probably for a touchdown. And people are saying, oh, he's seeing ghosts out there, blah, blah, blah. What do you expect to happen when the season after the last time the dude played football, he got his head smashed into the ground, didn't know where he was, and his brain was bounced around off his skull? The very next season after playing, he's the most hit quarterback in the NFL and sacked almost 50 times through 13 weeks. Yes, he's going to see ghosts. He's not comfortable behind 11 different offensive line sets throughout. So let's move forward to 2021. And this is a great point here. Wentz beat Dak last year with running backs and tight ends. That's why I want to get to our fan base and going forward with the disaster that this team and this organization has created. So everyone loves – remember before, guys, when it was rookie year, Dak was better than Wentz because the record. And then the next 2 to 3 years, it was kind of conversations over. Wentz is the better quarterback, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward to the first 5 weeks of this season before Dak goes down. Wentz and the Eagles are struggling. Dak's putting up monster numbers even though the record's not good. And it's, oh, Wentz ain't the same quarterback as Dak. I can't stand the inconsistency and of this fan base to force this kid out of here. If you want to give up on this 27-year-old kid after 10, 11 bad games, because he's only played 12 and a half, 13 games, and not all of them were bad. So 9, 10, 11 bad games. You want to throw that kind of talent and force that kind of talent out of the city, go ahead because you're forcing me out with them. If there's any domino, if he is the first domino to fall out of this mess of an organization, it's not one guy, guys, from top to bottom, management, coaching, player personnel. There's holes all over this team. And if he goes before Howie or before maybe one of the worst play callers I've seen this season that I've seen in a long time, I give up, dude. That is not the first domino to fall. If anything, You bring in another play caller and an OC. You bring in a competent GM, and you build around this kid. You've done nothing to help this kid out except bring in his replacement. And I know everyone likes to say, well, if he's not mentally strong enough to look past that, is he really the guy? Dude, there's a human effect to it. There is. Admit that. He goes out, he's the MVP of the league. The backup comes in, magic happens, and they win the Super Bowl. The stars align, they win the Super Bowl. There's a damn statue built for the guy out front of his stadium. He finally gets out of that, and then they draft this young Heisman runner stud in the second round to be his replacement. There's a human nature effect to it, guys. Of course he's going to be broken. Yes, and he's mentally cooked right now. He's not physically cooked. And the fact that you're still seeing mechanical issues in year 5, that is a coaching thing. It's not just on him. There's many reasons Carson's broken, and yeah, it's because of him. But there's a lot more that goes into it, and I'm not giving up on him in 2020.
No, I'm not either. I'm absolutely not.
The
biggest issue that was said today is Doug Peterson coming out to the media to say some stupid shit like he always does. He finally makes sense, but it's still stupid. How are you going to come out and tell us how you have a game plan built to help Jalen Hurts against New Orleans that you should have been implementing with Wentz all year? You're making the kid go deep. You're making him throw these deep balls. You're making him sit in the pocket. You're not running the ball. You're not playing the short game with them. But the first time Jalen Hurts is bound to start, here he comes being competent. Oh, we're gonna run the ball. We're gonna put an emphasis on running the ball and playing the short game.
Help him out and help out our quarterback.
You can do this to a 4-year quarterback just because he's not a rookie, and just not expect this guy to be great with all this pressure on him. And you can help him out the same way you're willing to help this rookie out just because he's not a rookie. It's almost like there's a stigma to it or something because he's a former NFL competing caliber quarterback. Like, just because he's proven himself in the past doesn't mean he doesn't need help or a restart or to get him in rhythm to the season, dude. It's mind-boggling.
I also never want to hear that he needs to go because he's lost the locker room. He lost the locker room. The leader of the defense
just attacked the whole organization for this man.
And Fletcher Cox came. I know the tweet you're talking about, Snap. It was the retweet with Jalen Hurts' face and the like for Carson Wentz from WIP. And Fletcher Cox liked it for Carson Wentz. He was asked about it today. He said Carson Wentz is his best friend on the team. So the two other biggest leaders outside the quarterback in your organization support the kid, want Carson to play, are really close with him. We know his relationship with Zach Ertz, and you're telling me he's lost the locker room? Not buying it.
Bullshit.
No, yeah. I just can't believe, like last week we saw – it was 4th and 16 right before the half, and they didn't send anyone on a fly route. And Wentz took 2 yards, the clock ran out. But the first play, Jalen Hurts came in, they sent Rieger on a fly route down the field. Snap might be right. Snap might be onto something here with the Sherlock Holmes take.
I swear to God. I don't
know what he did, but they might really, really, for some reason, want this kid out. That's the only way I can think of it at this point. But in terms of 2021, I'm on the Wentz wagon until who knows.
I'll tell you what you do real quick. Here's the format for this offense in 2021. Lane Johnson will be back. Brandon Brooks will be back. Jason Peters is out of here. Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson is out of here. You go out and you draft Jamar Chase in the top 5 or 6 or whatever your goddamn pick is. Jalen Reagor gets to be the number 2 wide receiver. Greg Ward is no longer your number 1. You bring in a play caller who will actually help out Carson and involve Miles Sanders, and then come talk to me. And then if number 11 is still struggling and he looks bad, I will come back on here and over in a year from now, and I will tell every single one of you, I was wrong. You beat me. You got it right. But guess what, guys? I highly freaking doubt that is the case. Do not give up on that kind of talent. He didn't. Go ahead.
Just to quote every Eagles fan I've ever met loves Jason Kelce. I would say he's probably one of the most respected offensive players on the team. Am I wrong?
No,
Or am I right? I'm right. Correct. Obviously, I'm right. Jason Kelce today on Carson Wentz. The moment he came in his rookie year, he transformed our offense. And that's not just as a player. That's as him being as a person. That's the intelligence he brings, the athleticism he brings, the competitiveness he's brings. I'm sorry, I'm messing up. I'm so mad. And they tangible. Difference in the practice every day on game day. So it's kind of hard to believe we're at this point, to be honest with you. Straight out of the most credible offensive player this team has had since going to the Super Bowl. He is saying this about the quarterback. What are Eagles fans not seeing? This guy's an NFL center.
Yeah,
Probably
maybe they see
the best one.
Snap. The thing is, they see what we don't see. They're seeing something more, guys.
They're brainwashed by the 1% of Philadelphia sports.
He did not
in the city, like Howie Rose. God,
he did not just forget how to play quarterback, guys. He's broken. Broken can be fixed. You need to remove the pieces that broke him.
And not break.
My God, he didn't just forget it. Everyone, I'm not the biggest Colin Cowherd guy. I said this last night on Party on Broad. But he said it 100% correct. Eli Manning in year 4 led the league in interceptions, threw over 30 interceptions. They wanted him out of New York. He went on to win the Super Bowl. His better half, Peyton Manning, in year 4, threw, I think, 26 touchdowns to 23 interceptions. They were 6-10 or 7-9. He was awful that year. Brett Favre threw over 20 interceptions like 6-7 times.
Yeah, but Dylan, it's not the same because he's not as good.
Yeah, it's so annoying.
No, yeah, because I think we should move on because we've all just been on tangent.
I'm gonna have a stroke if we don't. Move on. Please, for
Thanks,
the love of God.
But I think we all are sitting here on the same page that we want Carson Wentz to start next year. We want a new play caller.
I want a new everything.
I was going to say, I don't know if I want a new head coach or not, but I'm assuming he won't.
I do.
Yeah.
It's either you tell Doug you're giving up the playbook or you're gone. That's pretty much.
But here's the thing, guys. Going back to my little conspiracy theory, that's not going to happen.
No.
Because for Jeffrey Lurie, for some reason, is in love with these two guys, Howie Roseman and Doug Peterson, ever since they won the Super Bowl. They can't do wrong. They can't do wrong. For some reason, these guys can't do wrong and be held accountable. But your MVP caliber quarterback can. And that's what's wrong with this team. And that's how this is going to go.
So I want to address something right here because Big Shane Gillis, thanks for watching, man. And at the end, he says it's a business. At the end of the day, can't make it personal. But I want to pull up his first comment. Doesn't always have to be political and nothing's ever fair. If the dude's not doing his job well and there's someone who can do it better, they deserve the opportunity to make a difference. I know it. Shane, hold on. I get where he's coming from, but that's a standard for everybody. Doug's not doing his job well. Where's his replacement? Howie hasn't done his job well since 2017 and sucked at it before. Where's his replacement? I really believe Rob Lange pointed this out on Party on Broad last night. I think Chip Kelly was onto something. I know we all hate Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly was onto something when he forced that little weasel into his closet.
Yeah, wherever Jason Kelce said he was before the Super Bowl, put him back. Put him back. Because now it's getting ridiculous. You missed on DK. You know who are the number 1 and 2 wide receivers this year on single coverage in the NFL?
Justin Jefferson and DK Metcalf.
Yeah, 809 yards for DK Metcalf and 663 yards for Justin Jefferson. That came out today, thanks PFF. So just remember that when you want to talk about accountability in this team, it starts at the top and then works its way down. If your management and coaching can't put your best players in the best place to succeed, that's where you start with accountability. Not because your quarterback's getting hit 50 times in a season.
Did you guys see Patrick Queen's interception last night for the Ravens?
Yeah, we didn't need.
We don't value that. Oh,
we got Nate Gary.
What about his teammate LJ Fort that we just shipped off?
We got Nate Gary.
And Lane Johnson, I love you, man, but that picture,
tradable offense.
I said that right to the group chat.
Oh man,
post a picture with Nate Gary, 2 best friends that anyone could have. I get it. There's relationships outside of football. I'm not trying to be a dick, but come on, dude, that's the worst person to take that picture with. let's move on. I'm gonna do it. Let's please before one.
Yes, so I have a nice segue.
Dylan's gonna have a stroke in about 5 seconds.
got
Let's do it.
So speaking of Nate Gary is the Furcon Corkmans of the Philadelphia Eagles. So let's move on.
The deer, get him. Get him.
No.
Let's switch topics. George, I know you have something you want to say about the
I'd say he's Rodney McLeod.
The team that you have, the team that you have on your body right now. So would you like to get this off your chest before we move on to the Sixers who start soon?
Yeah. Let's talk about John Middleton for a second. Our billionaire owner.
Get him, Billy. Get him, Billy.
What did John Middleton say? He said he's going to bring a championship back to Philly. He's going to die trying until the pandemic happened, right? This man saying he lost $145 million. We can't re-sign JT. We can't get players that are going to help us win. And, hey, we might even be shopping Zach Wheeler. What the hell are we doing? What are we doing? Didn't we just sign Bryce Harper? And when you have Bryce Harper in your prime, shouldn't you be building a contender maybe after not making the playoffs for the last 10 years? Isn't that what should be happening? And now with James McCann about to sign with the Mets, there's zero reason why JT should not be a Philly next year. You have the Braves out here signing Charlie Morton for $15 million. You have the Mets signing Trevor May for $15 million. You have all these guys getting competent players for not big deals. What's John Middleton doing? He's sitting there. Guess what he's doing? He's bringing back Vinny Velasquez for this year.
Big Christmas gift.
There's something wrong. There's something wrong with this front office. And if John Middleton is crying poor and he doesn't want to spend money and he needs to save money because this pandemic and blah, 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 sell the freaking team. Sell the team. There's going to be – if you put the Phillies on the market, if you try to sell the Phillies, there's going to be people lining up trying to buy this franchise. There's going to be people lining up trying to buy this franchise. If John Middleton cannot get the job done, if he doesn't want to spend his money, if he wants us to be average 81-81 for the foreseeable future, get the hell out of here. Leave. Get out. What are we doing? If Zach Wheeler had a fantastic year last year, he's looking amazing. He looked very good as a 1-2. You have Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler. You think we could have used Charlie Morton on our rotation? Instead, no. Atlanta, 1 year, $15 million. That is like there's teams around us in our division that are just getting better and better, and the Phillies are just going down. And when you have Bryce freaking Harper in his prime, he is in his prime coming up, and you don't want to build around him. This man locked in for 13 years. You know why? No trade clause, because John Middleton told him, we're going to build for you. He owes it to us. He owes it to Bryce Harper. He owes it to everybody in this organization to build a winner. And what's he doing? He's sitting on his wallet. He's claiming that he lost so much money. He's crying poor. And I just want to say I'm fucking sick of it. And I'm fucking sick of this franchise. I'm sick of the ownership. I'm sick of everything. That's it. I mean,
never would I think that Josh Harris was my most liked owner in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Okay, no more clapping it. No, so Billy, George, sorry. Going off this, our viewers don't know that we call you Billy. So going off that, let's just say he did lose $145 million.
Which, hold on, let me say this.
He didn't. Oh, he didn't lose $145 million.
They didn't lose money. They just aren't making buku bucks they usually do.
Yes.
That's it. Go ahead.
So let's just say he lost 145, right? I'm pretty sure his net worth is $3.4 billion.
$3.4 billion.
Even if you still lost 145 bill, you're still a multi-billionaire. Secondly, you have all these other owners, professional sports, MLB owners, keeping employees on because in the middle of a pandemic. You're the only owner cutting ties left and right with your employees to save extra money. Right? Not to mention, he didn't lose $145 million. I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, he's just saying that's the money he would be making right now. So he didn't lose 145 off the 3.4. Let's get that very clear. And even if he did, he's still a multi-billionaire.
And I get it. It's his money. He worked for it. You know, this is a business. We'll jump on that side. But if you aren't making the money that you wanted to make, here's an idea. Sell the team to someone that actually wants this franchise to do good.
You know what the Phillies are? We're in Philadelphia. We are a big market team. We are acting like a freaking small market team right now. And it's just annoying. It's frustrating. If you don't want to spend money, sell it. Like, get out.
Yo, bring up that comment before that from Shane.
Nobody's watching MLB baseball. Is what's happening. You don't keep investments in dying markets.
Even if you believe it's a dying market, then sell while it's hot. That's my whole thing. If you're so scared to invest money into this team and you think it's a dying market, get the fuck out of the market.
If JT somehow
we don't have a GM still.
No, I think they're gonna stick with Ned Rice this year, and then they're gonna hopefully go after fucking Theo Epstein. Would be amazing next year because he's taking the year off. If they somehow get Theo Epstein, everything's different. Everything's different. That man turned the Cubs around. Everything's different. He's a genius.
And they were cursed.
If JT somehow is not a Philly this season, there's no excuse. There's no excuse not to re-sign him now. Who else is going to get him? Toronto. If you have Toronto outbid you for JT, John Middleton, he's literally get out of here. It's annoying. It's frustrating.
Enough talking about this depressing ass team. Enough talking about that depressing ass team. We have a comment here. The only teams that make me happy now are the Flyers and 76ers. Man, thank you for watching, and go check out if you are a Flyers fan, go check out our video with 97.5's Jason Martinez. It's on YouTube, on our Twitter at Phaithful Fans too, or go on to Painted Lines YouTube channel, and you can find that interview there from last week's episode.
Also, stop what you're doing right now and hit the subscribe button.
Ring that bell.
Let me just say one more thing. I guess just throw it out there. Why not? Phil Myers is back, so that's cool.
Yes.
3 deal.
Mr. Gustavo. The
5
Phillies
years.
are never getting Mike Trout in a Phillies.
Yeah. That's exactly. He would be Patrick Mahomes.
All right, boys. So let's switch
dive into the
gears
best team in Philadelphia.
Second.
Flyers?
I knew you were going to say something. That's why I said it.
Let's dive into arguably the best team in the city right now, the Philadelphia 76ers. Training camp continues to be underway. Danny Green, finally officially a Philadelphia 76er. Al Horford, finally officially no
I
longer.
was getting so nervous that trade was going to fall apart somehow.
Danny Green practices today for the first time with the team. Doc Rivers had great words to say about his play today. I believe, if I'm correct, he said he shot the heck out of the ball today. So let's start with the biggest rumor. Also, another video check out, a part of the Painted Lines. They did a great breakdown of the James Harden rumors last night, so go check that video out on the Danny Green. I'm reading this comment on the Painted Lines YouTube channel, and don't forget to press that subscribe button as well. Again, I'll throw this to you first. So once you think the roster's set, once you think this is what we're working with for the 2020-2021 season, rumors get thrown out. James Harden was not reporting to camp in Houston.
He was in the
Did not know when he was going to report, and he brought up the 76ers again as a trade request. So, again, what's your feeling now? Because I remember before when it was linked to us and the Nets, we felt as though there wasn't much to it. What didn't hold much weight. Now, how much weight does it hold? And we'll get into what packages we would throw and everything like that. But just what are your overall thoughts on the rumor resurfacing?
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool that he just mentioned the Sixers in particular, as opposed to weight to it. I mean, it doesn't hit the surface from Woj if there's no weight to it at all. So, I mean, there had to be some sort of communication, I'd assume. I'm not obviously in the scene, but I'd assume there'd be some communication between the two, even if it was hey, James Harden wants to play for you, give us Ben, and it was no, and hung up the phone. There had to be some sort of communication involved between the two about it. And again, he brought us up. So at first you heard a lot of Brooklyn, but he said the Sixers. So there's got to be a little bit of weight to it.
So you're saying where there's fire, there's smoke. Again, I just said that ass backwards. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that quote.
Snap.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear. Especially when you hear from a guy that's arguably a top 5 player in the league like James Harden. That's all you – even if you don't have a guy like that on your team and you're a team like the Sixers who are just probably 1 or 2 pieces from actually being a contender, like a definitive contender, hearing that from a top 5 guy is amazing because even though you may not get him, it just shows you that type of talent wants to play with your talent that you have locked up for at least the next 3 years. And you could, as a fan of the city and as a fan of the team, you couldn't be more ecstatic about that. Like, oh, this top 5 guy would come play with us. The other team he mentioned has Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and he wants to play with our homegrown stars. It kind of gives you like a little bit of jitters. Like, it's exciting news. And like you said, yeah, if Woj tweets it, there's weight to it. If it could, like Ginn said, it could have been just, we'll trade you James Harden for Ben Simmons. No. Okay. At least there's communication. Do I personally think the deal gets done? No. Do I think we'll be the sender like how Brooklyn was for like the next 2 weeks? Yes. But do I think a deal gets done at this rate? No. Unless if Daryl Morey and James Harden, this is shout out again for this little theory. James Harden and Daryl Morey are like on the phone behind closed doors, and Daryl Morey's saying, yo, don't report to Cam and just keep partying so we can get leverage. That'd be awesome because James Harden sure has been partying. He's been in the club getting lit. It seems like he has no interest with playing with the Rockets.
George.
I think it's awesome that the best offensive player in basketball has interest in playing for Philadelphia. What was that? What was that? Ginn?
Kevin Durant.
All right. You're right. But yeah, where there's smoke, there's fire. If we're just saying something, then there's got to be something to it. They're definitely talking. There's definitely communication, but it's still going to take a lot to get this deal done. And will it get done? Probably not.
Stay tuned.
It's going to be a hell of a lot of rumors coming up these next few weeks. It's going to be fun to follow along with, but I doubt anything happens. If you're not giving Ben or Joel to the Rockets, do they really want to do that? Probably not. Are we giving up Ben or Joel? Are we giving up Ben or Joel? No, we're not going to do that.
It's so good.
But yeah, there it is.
We're getting there.
No, I did not.
But yeah, I don't see anything happening. I think it's really cool that he wants to come to Philly, but I don't see a package that could possibly be enticing enough to Houston to ship him off this season. So, I mean, he's still under contract, so we'll see what happens. But it's cool to follow along with.
Another thing, sorry, before Dylan, you.
Oh dear God!
What?
You don't like what? Pull it up. Say something. You don't like Ben Simmons?
No, yeah. So,
The next comment is something we should discuss as well.
Houston has literally zero leverage in this situation in any way. They're in a really bad spot. You just traded Russell Westbrook for, in my opinion, a worse player in John Wall, who hasn't played in 2 seasons.
Yep.
You signed Christian Wood for a lot of money, who is a very good player, don't get me wrong, but I think got paid a little bit too much. And then you signed DeMarcus Cousins. So clearly you were in a spot where you're like, okay, we can still fork some wins out somehow. And now your best player, who's a top 5 player in the NBA, doesn't want to play for your team. Houston, in my opinion, if they hear, first of all, we'll talk about packages later, so I'm not even going to talk about it. Go ahead.
Bring up that last comment, Dylan, if you can.
Yeah, but if there's a player-driven league, it's the NBA. Like, we see that they force the hands. They kind of play where they want nowadays. So, like Ginn said, if he wants out of Houston, he's not playing a game for Houston. But Big Shane Gillis here says, we're in a good spot. We have the upper hand in any discussion. And Daryl Morey isn't interested in making deals just to make deals, especially after saying he plans to keep Joe and Ben this year.
To comment on that, yes. Do I agree that Daryl Morey would like to see these two play as the 1 and 2 for this whole year? Yes, I absolutely do think that, especially with a new roster. But I don't care what anyone says about fit or anything else. This is a guy, Daryl Morey, who's been with James Harden his whole career in Houston. He knows the caliber of a player he is. If there's a way to bring in James Harden to make a big 3 in Philadelphia, you do it, man. This is a talent-driven league, and when you put superstars together, you get results. It's proven. Golden State, Miami, like the list goes on and on and on. So regardless if it's, oh, okay, let's see what we got, and we want to see what we got here, why wouldn't you add a top 5 player?
All right, let's talk packages. Again, what would a package look like for you, assuming that Maury and Doc are holding true, that Ben and Joel are not going anywhere, especially the recent comments, like Joel's not going anywhere. We know that. So the piece before that was discussed was Ben Simmons. Would you do it? Would you not? Is there a thought? Is there not? Now, especially with the comments that Doc has made about Ben in camp so far, and the comments Maury has made about giving them some time and seeing what they can do with Doc and spacing and shooting around the two, I don't see any way Ben is a part of a trade for James Harden. So what would a package for James look like for you? We know a ton of picks would be involved, but player-wise, what would have to be given up?
Shout out Brian Jacobs here because I think he had it written out perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Tobias Harris has to be involved. There's no way around it. Matisse Thybulle, he has Tyrese Maxey. I'm going to say Shake Milton. 2021 first-round pick, 2022 pick swap, 2023 first-round pick, 2024 pick swap. So you're giving up 2 first-round picks, 2 swappable, and you're giving up 3 players. That's leaving you with your big 3 that you're saying you want. Like 100%. Obviously, you give up a lot of assets, but I mean, we'll talk about if we all would do that package or not. But
what's wrong with that?
This is the comments tonight. All right, I completely agree with Gint. In this sense, I think Brian got it absolutely on the head. Well, where you say Shake, I say Tyrese, because I think you would want a younger player like Tyrese over Shake. Even though it's not much of a difference, I still think Tyrese holds a little more value since he's a rookie.
Definitely.
And I think they're going to want the most value. But it's going to come down to picks if Ben's not involved. So 4 pick with swaps and first-round picks is definitely the way it goes. And it's definitely in the near future that you want it. Because honestly, if you fire sale James Harden like this, then you're probably fire sailing the whole team. Like, you're probably going to keep a guy like Christian Woods around. You'll probably get 1 season out of John Wall to prove that he's healthy, and then you're going to ship him off immediately. Try to do the same thing with DeMarcus Cousins at the trade deadline. So that's what my whole thing would be. But that would also need to include Houston understanding it's complete and utter defeat and that they need to rebuild immediately. So that's where I see the deal not happening. And also, again, if Ben Simmons is the only way the deal gets done, it's not happening. I agree with Shake contract compared to Maxey, but Shake has more upside proven than Maxey right now. I agree with that. Just commenting on Chris's comment. But Maxey has probably more potential at the NBA level just because he's such a new and young prospect. And if you're rebuilding a team, you want to be able to shape a guy the way you want to do it.
So, yeah, like I agree with that with some sort of mix there. I agree that it's Tobias, especially contractual for the contract. Matisse would be a part of it, and then either Shake or Maxey, and then 4 to 5 picks, in my opinion, would be involved going to Houston. But I said I want to make this interactive, so let's get interactive, guys, for the last few minutes. We have Vasilios. I hope I pronounced your name wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. I like our bench this year. Are you saying you wouldn't trade those pieces to get James Harden? Because
for a top 5 player that puts up
I'm
50 to 60 points.
Scoring leader the last 2 years.
It would be an
There's Nadir's comment too. Bring that up.
I want to get to the first one. Nadir, thanks you for watching, man. We're just messing around with you. I like interacting with you. Thanks for watching again. But even though I do not like Simmons, I'm not for the trade. So I get not wanting to get Ben up for James Harden. But Nadir, can you explain to me why you don't like Ben Simmons?
The other comment is the one I was really focused on.
And then he says Harden would frustrate Joel, it wouldn't work.
Do you know these guys personally?
No,
Are you hanging out with James Harden and Joel Embiid? Do you know how they get along? Like, players adapt. You're forgetting James Harden played with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook to start his career off. I know that was a long time ago, but he's played with ball-dominant players before. Like, guys change their game to win championships.
Then we have another comment here from Chris. Is it important to you guys at all to have homegrown guys because they're more fun to watch?
No, not at all. If anything, I think I'm actually like the total opposite because all these homegrown quote unquote process guys that I despised in every single way. Ben and Joel aren't process guys. They're good basketball players that we have. Like the Rocos, TJ McConnell's, Dario, like thank God they're all gone.
I do agree with the point though that homegrown guys are more fun to watch because you get to see them become the players they are. Like the whole Joel Embiid process was awesome. Seeing him sit out 2 years. I was at his first game. That's probably the most memorable Sixers game I was ever at. Like if we're being honest, when he hit that jumper at the free throw line for his first bucket after 2 years of him sitting out on injuries, the stadium. I don't think I've ever heard the stadium go so ballistic for a season opener. It was absolutely insane. So I do agree that homegrown guys are more fun to watch. But on the other hand, when you're a Miami Heat team and you pull in LeBron James and Chris Bosh and make a big three, that's when it gets to the point where it's like, you know what? Fuck our homegrown guys. I want a championship. So it goes both ways.
No, having homegrown talent's awesome, especially watching him grow. But like, you just want to win. Fuck homegrown talent. And Embiid and Simmons, they're just a different story about home. Like they're homegrown talent that you really, really hit on. Like they're not. I just don't see the Simmons at all.
What is homegrown to you guys in the NBA? Like that's not homegrown.
Well, no, but you
drafting Ben Simmons, that's not homegrown.
I mean, what else?
It is. It's homegrown. You drafted him and you got to develop him into the player he is right now at the NBA level. That's homegrown.
Really
talking about a guy from Philadelphia that grew up Philadelphia. He was born at Chop and he grew up his whole way in Philadelphia. I'm not talking about like a legacy story of Philadelphia like he's Rocky Balboa or something. Like I'm talking about a guy that came to the city as a draftee and then made it to an NBA championship. That is fun. Everyone.
I do agree with you though. Like homegrown in the NBA is definitely a lot different than
because when I think of homegrown, I would think more towards of baseball.
Yeah,
baseball.
Or NHL. Yeah, I got it.
Comes through. That's homegrown. Like
but that's because you're focusing more on like how they have to come up through the minors. There's a longer process and there's more anticipation. But like when it was 2016 and we got the first overall pick, no one was more excited about Ben Simmons coming here and watching him become the player. In 2014, when we drafted Joel Embiid, and after 2 years, he finally hit that NBA court, and he actually was good, and he actually was a dominant player on the court. Everyone was ecstatic. Ben is arrogant and acting like he is the savior himself. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, well,
all right.
There's a stigma about Ben Simmons. I don't think
something to touch on.
Not true. It's not true.
I don't think Ben Simmons is arrogant. He just doesn't have a lot of personality.
Yeah, it's again.
So people just think he's arrogant. Like the dude just started a whole foundation.
I've never heard anyone say that.
I would love to know the inside scoop he has on him being arrogant, but just keep it moving.
That and James Harden and Joel Embiid not liking each other too.
Yeah. And Furkan Korkmaz is a good NBA player, but whatever. What do I know?
I'll throw Furkan in there.
But all right, guys. So let's move forward. Let's move forward towards some of the comments made by Doc and Danny Green today. Doc has alluded to the energy in the gym in recent days of practices. What?
We didn't even get into if we would do the deal.
Oh yeah.
Oh, our packages.
I'll start.
I got so past it because we got into the comments.
Let George start because you cut him off. Didn't even ask his trade package.
Listen, we all got the same trade package.
Yeah,
it's true. And
Ryan's package. Ryan's package makes more sense.
If it's Toby, if it's Thibault, if it's either Shake or Maxey, and a bundle of picks or pick swaps, I think I speak for all of us saying we would do that 10 out of 7 days of the week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like not even close. Like that's
you don't turn down a big three like that.
You're bringing could you imagine James Harden, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid?
Listen, and the other thing is Doc Rivers has talked so much about pick and roll. You can run pick and roll with all three of those guys and just do so much on a basketball court. James Harden pick and roll with Joel Embiid. James Harden, Ben Simmons pick and roll. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid pick and roll. You would have so many options on whatever you wanted to do. It would be absolutely
not to mention
just Ben Simmons and James Harden pick and roll would be unstoppable. Because honestly, I think if you put Ben in a roller spot, there's a whole different aspect to his game that has not been unlocked because Brett Brown didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, and I know we love Matisse, and I know we want to see what kind of NBA player Tyrese Maxey turns into because we have a lot of confidence in what that can be. So if there's no trade, obviously, I still really like the Sixers team going forward and how it's constructed right now. But if that is the package, you still keep the spacing and the shooting you brought in the other trades this offseason around Joel and Ben on top of adding a top 5 and probably number 2 in the NBA offensively in James Harden for a big 3.
Yeah,
That would be
electric.
I just don't see how Houston gives Philadelphia and Daryl Morey, James Harden. Daryl Morey already basically ripped the heart out of Houston this offseason. It's like Tillman some. I don't know who he is, but he's the guy that is, I'm assuming, handling basketball operations right now. But there's no way he just gets beat. I don't think they want that atrocious Tobias contract to begin with. I don't think a lot of NBA teams want that contract. But I also think that Doc Rivers is more – okay. I think Doc is so much so okay with seeing if Tobias can become this third star that they want, because everyone's perceiving this. And Austin Krell said it last night. He said everyone's perceiving they want a big three in the near future. Like, you want it because that's what all of you've heard about. You've heard about Zach LaVine. You've heard about James Harden.
That's honestly the guy I want too.
I think they would love to see if Tobias can just pan out under Doc, where he's been successful as this third guy that they want. So I don't think, obviously, Philadelphia would love James Harden.
But right there is the comment.
Yeah, if Tobias does pan out to be the dude, amazing. We don't have to give up anything great. But if we're getting that offer, and we're all taking that. Nobody's saying no to that.
Yeah.
It's just not a smart move for you. Even if James Harden dips in 2 years, you have a 2-year window to run a big 3 with a great two-way defender.
You didn't trade Banner Joel. That was the thing. The only thing holding, I think, anyone back in that trade scenario before was giving up Ben Simmons.
No doubt.
Yeah, obviously.
Remember a few weeks ago, we were like, dude, but if Daryl Morey somehow pulls this off without giving up Banner Joel, well, if that's the case, look, and again, I know Woj tweeted it, so there's probably some weight to it. I don't know how much. Like Gint said, it could have been one simple phone call. They were told no, and that was just the message. But we will see in the coming.
I also think there's a lot more contenders that have probably a better package than we do, but excluding Ben. I think Ben would be the best package if somehow Houston get that you could possibly get. But I think Brooklyn would have a better package than we would.
Brooklyn is already kind of strapped with cash now. I mean, how much money did they just give Joe Harris?
Yeah, a lot.
75 million.
Joe Harris would be
including
involved in the deal.
Yeah, so if you had to go out and get James Harden, now Joe Harris is immediately in the deal just because of cap reasons.
Yeah,
and that alone is just going to make the package less valuable compared to
I think Karis LeVert is an unreal asset.
So
Brooklyn's going to be really good. So I don't know about how
Spencer Dinwiddie's still there too.
They might get Dinwiddie in the deal too. So I think there's other packages for Houston to give. That's why I don't think we see a trade coming, and the Tobias thing that I stated.
Yeah, if you're not putting Ben Simmons in the deal, you're probably not the best package. If you're putting Simmons in the deal, it's a no-brainer that the Sixers have the best package out there, but I don't think any of us are doing that, right?
No. I'm cool on that.
Like I said,
at that point, it just becomes age and contract-wise. 24-year-old just starting his 5-year deal. I think he's making most 30 mil or 34 mil a year. He's making less than Tobias is, and Tobias is making 34 mil this year. And then you got James Harden, 2 years left, 40 million a year at 31 years old. It just comes down to just numbers at that point. You don't know what Ben's gonna be. You kind of know what James Harden is gonna be, and if he does have a major injury in one of these 2 years, you're basically equivocally trading for a 1-year deal.
That's another thing. If we make a deal, I want an extension on the spot.
No doubt.
I'm not having another. If I'm the Sixers, and again, we have all the leverage in this deal. Houston has zero leverage with any NBA team right now. I want a extension on the spot. We're not having Jimmy Butler Part 2 come.
Oh. And speaking of Zach LaVine,
would you trade Ben Simmons to get Zach LaVine?
Don't ask stupid questions. No, I'm sorry.
I had to ask him.
Zach LaVine to the Knicks.
Not leaving Chicago. I don't know where. I don't think
unless the only way Zach LaVine leaves Chicago this year is if before the trade deadline, the Chicago is still that bad that they aren't even considerations for an 8th seed or even in a playoff type of push, and he demands it.
I don't think they'll give it to him, dude. They're building The only reason they would give him up is he's like a tad bit older than everyone they have. They have Kobe White, Wendell Carter. They just drafted.
But that's going back to the
Arizona
athletes
State.
Sixers have. You could give them young players that fit that age group.
Yeah, and I just don't think any NBA team has enough talent that young to swing Zach LaVine.
You would have to give up a player like similar payroll. And then the only other guy that really even blips on the radar or was blipping on the radar for a trade package is basically no one even wants him now that Al Horford's gone, and that's Buddy Hield. Because the only reason we wanted Buddy Hield was to make cap work and get Al Horford the fuck out.
Buddy Hield's contract sucks.
Yeah.
All right, boys. I got to hop off early. Nadir, I love you.
Later, Snap.
Later, Snap. All right, guys. So let's just, before we wrap up here, if you guys have anything else you want to touch on, keep commenting. We'll try to get to as many comments as we can. But the overall vibe at Sixers camp, like I was getting to before Gint really interrupted me, after I really interrupted George, is just kind of that they like the roster. I mean, I know that's the easy thing to say, and that's what he's going to say. Like, I like the guys we have. I like our roster now. But it's just the feel of the camp. Doc has made a lot of comments to the media. Then Danny Green comes in today and says that he loves the energy in camp right now on his first day. So that's their vibe. Again, what is your vibe for the 76ers this season?
I think it's a lot of like guys with chips on their shoulders in a sense. I think Joel underperformed last year. I think Ben thinks he has a lot of prove left. And you just go down the roster. Danny Green didn't have the best year last year. Tyrese Maxey went 15 draft picks probably too late than he thought he physically could have. Dwight Howard seems to have this persona that I think a lot of people think he was carried to a championship. I just think you have a roster full of guys that think they underperformed in their previous season. I mean, and as a whole, the Sixers drastically underperformed. So there's so much I think these guys are invested in figuring this out, and I think Daryl Morey really helped that by making this roster like just make sense. Because Daryl Morey came in, saw a roster that had 2 bad contracts, got rid of one, and got floor spacing that we didn't think we could get. Yeah. So I think, like I said, a lot of guys with a lot to prove. I shouldn't say a lot to prove because they're NBA players. Realistically, they don't really have anything to prove. But in terms of the NBA, I think these guys are all in on trying to figure this out.
So do you guys think, and George, you go next, but do you guys think that as currently constructed, they're in title contention?
I'll let George go first.
Should I say at least coming out of the East?
Yeah, I think right now they're at least the top 4 team in the East constructed right now. They have a lot better depth than last year. Our starting 5 is going to be better than last year. It seems like Joel is working his ass off to stay in shape in the offseason. You see all the videos of him. He's doing everything. He's playing tennis. He's running. He's on the court. We have a coach, a competent head coach, and not even just that, we have a competent coaching staff. Like, everything's so much better. We have a better front office. It seems like everything's on the up and up. I like our roster now. I like our roster a lot. I think we're a top 4 team in the East. Title contention, I guess you could say that, right? If a top 4 team in the East, we have a chance to get out of the Eastern Conference. Definitely. So I would call us title contenders, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm there too, dude. And and that's without the big 3, and that's with Ben and Joel. You obviously having to take that step, right? Like, if it's the Ben and Joel of last year and the year before, no, they're not going to be title contenders. But that's with them taking a step. And George, you kind of went where I was going. So Daryl Morey has finally put together this roster that gives you what we've been talking about, spacing and 3-point shooting. And B, a competent rim protector and defender when Joel Embiid is off the floor.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's the season this year. 72. How many games?
72 games.
72 games. What's the name? Joel is not going to play all 72 games, so that's big in itself. But the coaching staff, right? You hear Sam. Is it Sam? I believe it's Sam Cassell is working with Ben on his mid-range game and corner 3 game, right? You're hearing Ben's comments that him and Joel are running pick and rolls together, and they weren't allowed to do that with Brett Brown as the head coach, and they're really excited to do that. Well, like, that is what I want to see, because I think they actually do have the pieces in place. I'm not saying they're better than the Lakers, the Clippers, but as far as coming out of the East, I've said it all along, even last year. I'll take Ben and Joel versus a lot. Like, I know Giannis is a freak of nature. right? But the Bucks never felt that much better to me than the Sixers. And with the way the roster is constructed now, and I guess I would have to go as far to say Matisse is going to have to take a step. Dwight Howard's going to have to, play valuable minutes off the bench. I think they're there. I'm not saying they're going to win the championship this year. I think they can come out of the East this year. Minimum Eastern Conference Finals.
Pull that Ty comment up.
He said, Ty Book said, never thought I'd say this, but I like the addition of Dwight Howard. If not for any other reason, he's a good example for JoJo how to stay in shape.
Because, that's 100% true. I feel like I'm not going to say –
I'll go one more. Shane Gillis, Dwight competing with Joel is going to do wonders to force Joel to focus up and value his job more. Yeah, I mean, I won't go as far to say that Joel needs to focus to keep his job, but on a daily going in one-on-one against Dwight Howard every day, keeping your ass in shape, it's definitely going to keep you in check.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that was an under the radar move, but that's a move that doesn't jump out to you, but it's huge for the team. You have a competent backup that's a Hall of Famer that's coming off a championship that's going to motivate and show JoJo new things in the game, new things to do. It's the fundamentals to do. Dwight Howard is a perfect backup for Joel Embiid, especially after last year with Al. This year and Kyle O'Quinn. This year with Dwight Howard behind him, it's going to hopefully push Joe, and it's going to be a lot better than last year.
So one more comment I want to say. Nadir says Ben needs to step up their spacing and shooting now. There's no excuse. I agree with you, but I want to say this because clearly Nadir has a grudge with Ben Simmons. Not only is Ben Simmons elite and top 5 in everything else in the game of basketball besides shooting.
Fact.
I would argue that he is more important to the team than Joel Embiid is. Now we can save this discussion for next week and going before the season starts because Snap's not available right now with us. But I just want to get your guys' quick opinions on it because you got to remember, and I know I'm going back 3 years now, but it feels to me, and you compare the 16-0 run at the end of the season when Joel was not available and Ben was surrounded by shooters. They win 16 straight games going into the playoffs. Ben's off the floor this past year, and I know the vibe was just off the bubble. I'm not saying this is normal circumstances, but then they get swept by Boston. I would argue that Ben Simmons is more valuable to this team than Joel Embiid, meaning that if Shake has to come in for Ben and Ben has to miss time, but we have Embiid, compared to Dwight Howard filling in for Embiid and Ben's the starting point guard with all the spacing, I think that's more important to have. Because I was just saying that because I see all the comments about Embiid being MVP level, and I agree. Joel can be an MVP in this league if he dominates. To me, he's the most dominant big man in the association. I don't want to hear about the Joker. He's the most dominant big man. But he's got shit. Everyone keeps saying Ben's got to show it. Joel needs to show that he's the most dominant big man in the game.
Yeah, Joel did Joel even make an all-defensive team last year?
He did not.
Yeah, that can't happen, and I don't think it's going to happen again. I really think Joel took a look in the mirror and said, "I'm so much better than this." But going back to if I think they can come out of the Eastern Conference, I've said I think they're the third best team in the East in terms of on paper. I mean, this could come out and look awesome, and the floor spacing looks great. I think Milwaukee got a lot better with Drew Holiday, or not a lot better, but better. And then I think Brooklyn's going to be really good just off talent. They have 2 guys that are going to probably put up 25 plus a night. Karis LeVert's really good. Spencer Dinwiddie's going off the bench. But after that, we are better than Boston. We are a better team than Boston, and we are a better team than Miami. And another thing I need to say, Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero are becoming the most 2 overrated basketball players on planet Earth, and I can't stand it. But just to close out my rant, I don't want to say it's Eastern Conference Finals or bust because I do think there is 2 teams on paper that are better.
Hey, listen, dude,
we need to see a fight. There needs to be. We need to go through the first round effortlessly, sweep somebody.
So
go ahead.
I just want to piggyback off of that really quickly. I'm with you because it's so weird because it's the first year with a new roster with a new coaching staff, so it's kind of hard to say that.
I agree.
But at the same time, you still have the 2 cornerstones. You have the Max Tobias. I'm tired of the second round struggles. This has to be the year, in my opinion, they at least get over that hump, right? I know it's weird to say because it's Doc's first year, this whole coaching staff. You brought in all these new pieces, a new president of basketball ops making all the calls. They have to get over that hump, man.
Yeah, I totally agree. And as for the Ben has to step up, I'm Ben Simmons' biggest fan probably on planet Earth. And I've said however many times I think Ben's the best player on this team. I think Ben's the most important person on this team. But he needs to be very, very good this year. I know he will. He's going to be surrounded, like you said, with that 17-game winning streak type team where he's just going to be able to pass the ball. He led the league in assists on three-pointers last year.
Yep.
It's coming, and I'm so ready for this season. I really am.
I think he led the league in three-pointers attempted, assisted, and was fourth in three-pointer assisted three-pointers made, or vice versa. One of those ways. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely cannot wait. When's the opener against Boston for the preseason? The 15th?
15th or 14th, one of the two.
Nationally televised, so
Then we get to open up with Embiid clowning Russ for the opener. That'll be fun. That'll be a good time.
Yeah.
It is. Well, thank you guys for commenting. Come back next week for the Phaithful Fanatics podcast Wednesday. We have a big guest. Hopefully you guys know him, Paul Hembakidis, or if you know him as Hembo, producer for Get Up ESPN. He will be joining us next Wednesday at 5 or 5:30 start time. I'm not sure yet. Haven't decided. So keep on the lookout for that. Follow our Twitter at FaithfulFans too. We'll be tweeting more about the information you get there. Send in your questions for Hembo. I'm sure he'll have some numbers and stats on the Sixers this upcoming season, on the Eagles versus the Cardinals, because that's what game we'll be going into, whether the Eagles have a chance or not. So tune in for that. For Gint, for George, for Snap. Oh, go ahead, Gint.
TPL YouTube. YouTube. So hit the subscribe button, like, comment.
Yep. Go
ring that bell.
To the painted line.
Bell, baby. Raise the cat.
And have a nice night.